That's a good deal on this pillow. Well, hello, Shiny Crafty People. It's Tim Totten here, and welcome back to the channel. Today, I want to share with you a really fun project that was shared with me, and this is it. It's this little pillow with some Velcro on the back. And you might be wondering, well, what is that for? Well, this was actually shared with me as a project that someone I know, I met, makes for people who are going through cancer treatment. This is a port pillow that goes onto your seatbelt in your car, so that when you have to put the seatbelt across and it maybe hits where your port is, this hooks onto the seatbelt, and then it creates a cushion so it's not rubbing into your port. And you can imagine what that would feel like. You know, the port is an installed device to make it easier to give someone chemo treatments, and so it stays in their body for the entire time of chemo, but it can be sore to have a seatbelt rub across it. So this literally just uses two 7x4-inch pieces of fabric, a little bit of batting, and 7 inches of Velcro, and you get this cute little huggy piece that goes in the car. So why don't you come down to the cutting table, and I'll show you how to put this together. And at the end, I'm gonna show you what it looks like in a car. So for this project, I'm gonna need some fabric, and actually this is fabric I dyed myself with my friend Cherie in Madison. So I'll show you that. I'll link a video to see that. Some clips or something just to hold, some fiber fill. I actually just had bought a cheap pillow for them because they were out of fiber fill, and I was able to grab some fiber out of there, and I could still use this pillow. It wouldn't be a problem. And then of course some things to cut with and measure. It's gonna be super, and some Velcro. And I just happen to have this double-sided Velcro, so I'm gonna use this, but you could use just 2 pieces. You need about 3.5 inches. So what we're gonna do is gonna cut ourselves 2 rectangles that are 7 inches by 4 inches. So I'm just gonna get this particular piece of material out. It's already been washed and done with, but you can do however works the best for you to get yourself a 7x4 rectangle. I'm gonna cut this a little bit bigger than 7x4 so that I can actually I'll just go up at least 4 inches and cut off here and then trim back. And my rotary cutter has a little bit of a flat tire, I call it. It has a blade problem, so I'm gonna have to double check. Okay, and then I'm gonna go here and cut to 4 inches exactly. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm just gonna cut twice. That'll make that easier. And then I'll cut it to 7 inches there's a mark on my ruler at 7 inches, and get that cut. Ugh. One more. All right. Now we'll go ahead and cut our Velcro piece to be also, this Velcro piece is, it's right at 7 inches. So we'll cut in half at 3.5, right about in there. It's hard to see with this dark blue mat on the back. And then now we just have to assemble. This is so easy to do. I'm gonna leave one end open down here. So what I'll do is I'll pull the fabric back. And let's go halfway in here. And you can really measure it out if you really feel like you need to. And then I'll layer this on top into the seam allowance as well and just stick them together. That's super easy. I'll put a clip on this just to make sure it holds before I put the other fabric on the other side. So now I take the other fabric and lay. Now this is a dyed all the way through fabric, so there really isn't a right side or a wrong side unless I care about how shiny it is. So I'll just get that lined up and reposition my clip. Clip the other side. And I can add clips wherever I want just to make sure that's all held together. We're not worried about being super exact on this piece. All right, our next job is to go to the sewing machine and sew down both sides and across one end. We're gonna leave the other end open. Ooh. All right, we're gonna take that to the sewing machine. All right, here at the machine, I'm gonna sew down one side and back up the other. I'll use about a 2 on my stitch length. and about a 1/4 inch on the seam allowance. I am going to put my needle in the down position. I have a button on my machine that I can do that with. Now I'm going to hold that, there's a Velcro under there. I'm going to hold it in place, and I'll probably stitch back over it just to really hold it in. Now this is not going to get a lot of wear and tear, so I'm not really worried about it coming out. Now before I just turn and sew this way, I actually want to make sure the other side gets sewn correctly. I don't want to maybe pull it out of whack here by sewing across this, so I'll do that part last. Remember, we're only going to sew across one end, not the other. We're not going to sew across the other end. All right, I did back stitch here at the top and bottom, because as I turn it inside out, it's going to need to be done that way, just so I don't rip the seams out. And sew there across the bottom. Now, the last couple things we need to do here is we just need to trim our corners here. And you could just trim straight across. This is really meant to be that's just a small craft project. Or you could come in and do it at a different angle like this, and get the other one at more of a different angle as well. And it really means you get really sharp corners when you turn this inside out. Now you need to turn this with a either some kind of a seam turner or a twister, or like a knitting needle or something. You can use a stiletto as long as it's not a super sharp stiletto. So I have this Fons and Porter stiletto, which I like. It's a little bit it's kind of pointy, not super, but it's not like using the end of your scissors. So I'm going to turn this inside out that way. And what I'm going to do is just flip it inside out. You'll see that Velcro comes out there too. You just push your corners out. I'm going to push with my fingers first. Right? And then using some kind of a point turner. And if I had my regular point turner, I would use it. I don't have my regular point turner right now, so I'm just going to use the stiletto, but be very, very soft. I'm barely going to push it. I'm just really actually going to pull the fabric more than anything, because I don't want it to push through the entire side. Okay, that looks good. A bamboo, not a skewer, but like bamboo chopsticks work really well for this. All right, so I've got that done. Now you could take this to the iron and iron it flat if you wanted to. I don't think it's that important to do, but you could if you wanted. What I am going to do is make sure that down here at this end, I do want to kind of iron this in first. So I will fold these over each about a 1/4 inch or more and press those. And I'll just hit it with my iron real quick. Let's do that. So I've got my little travel iron here that I love. Love this travel iron. Puts out a lot of steam. I'm gonna go ahead and flip this inside to get that sizing that I want. I want it to be somewhat straight across there. So there we go. Because I'm just going to put a stitch right across the bottom of that when it's time. Stem it. Yes. If I really wanted to make this super wonderful special, I could go in and hand stitch it across the bottom there. And if you're doing like some projects, just like, working at home with in your chair watching TV or something, and you like to just sort of do a hidden ladder stitch or something, or whip stitch, you could totally just do that and it would make that work out great. All right, let's stuff this thing. Remember, I had my stuffing from the inside of that pillow form, and I don't know that I'll use all of this. I got quite a lot out. I really don't know how much it's going to need, but we're just gonna, and you don't have to overstuff this. You're just trying to keep the seatbelt off of someone's chemo port so that it doesn't dig in. You're trying to give them a little cushion. So think about how thick you like your pillows to be. Like, if you're wanting to give cushion, you don't need to overfill it. Of course, that's the person who I gave one to told me that, but maybe some people might want one that's more. If you're giving this as a gift to like a cancer center or something, for them to give away to people, you could just make some of varying different kinds of hardness or thickness, and then they could choose. Somebody grabs one and It says, oh wow, the one I took home yesterday was way too overstuffed. So I put about half of that I had pulled out into there. It made a nice little cushions. All right, so let's go back to the sewing machine and sew across the bottom, and then we'll be done. All right, here we are. I'm going to just shove it as far in as I can get it, and you'll see where I folded it over on the inside. So I'll just flatten that out, and I'm just gonna stitch across this bottom. Super easy. Now, if you had a nice decorative stitch on your machine, you could use that. I'm just gonna make sure I do it kind of pretty. Keep it even. Let the back stitch too much. And there we go. I could have used purple thread, I guess. I just don't know if I have any purple thread. And flatten it back out. If you want to make sure it's going to be soft the whole time, you could fold it to where the soft side of the material. The only other thing you could do would be to fold over one of these edges to make an easy tab to grab. So I'm going to do that. I'm just going to fold over this edge. You see I folded it over by about 1/2 inch. And I'm just going to put a stitch through it. Now here again, I wish I had black thread in the machine for this, but I've got white accent everywhere, so it's fine. What that's going to do is make it really easy when someone goes to put it on their seat belt. They can easily pull it back off if they need to reposition it or whatever. All right, let's take a better look. All right, Shiny Crafty people, I'm in the car now, and I finished making the little pillow. Now, imagine if you had a port here in your chest, and this seatbelt were to come and hit it, that would get really annoying. So what you do is, the person who you give the little pillow to puts it on the back of the seatbelt, which is about 2 inches wide. It gets a little bit of room. It holds on there. It's not really moving. And then now it can cover that, and instead of rubbing on that port, it's now got a little soft pillow to go. Of course, you can make these a bunch of different fabrics, and they were so easy to make. You saw how fast that went together. That's all in real time. I didn't actually speed anything up. So you can make a bunch of these and give them away. Now, I'm gonna put a link in the description below to the University of Iowa instructions that I used to create this. It was given to me by my friend Vicky, and I wanna make sure that you consider making some of these. And I would suggest maybe contacting either a cancer treatment center or maybe a charity that deals with people who are dealing with cancer treatment, and see if this is something you can make for them and give away and offer to them. And you could of course change the size if you wanted to, maybe make it a little bit smaller so that it hooks on a little tighter. That's really up to you. You could actually probably cut this Velcro a little bit, but I think it actually works really well. And I actually think too, if you think about it, there are so many kids that are in cancer treatment, and you can make these out of really cute, pretty fabrics that kids would like as well, or even maybe like adults who love Disney or other stuff like that. So consider doing that and making a big pile of them, and then somebody could get to choose which one they would want to take home to use when they're in the car, either as a passenger or a driver. I think it's a really lovely small gift and a way for you to give back. I just like making it. So until next time, folks, you stay crafty and take care of each other. Bye for now. All right, it's actually pretty comfortable. I can make a long one, just have it really comfortable for a long trip just for me.